What's up, YouTube? Eric Bauer. Back again, another video. Obviously, you're sitting down, you're watching, you're tuning in. Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the views, appreciate all the comments, appreciate all the engagement. That's why we do this YouTube thing, is to engage with an audience about nerdy shit that we love. I was going to do a contest entry for the chromium dioxide channel. And I just haven't had a sense of humor over the last week or so. I'm not finding shit funny. So we're putting that off probably to the last minute. This one just kind of occurred to me because I got a pack in the mail with some 7-inch represses in it, and one of them is a pretty important 7-inch, and it got me to kind of sorting through the vinyl, the collection, as it were. First, I sorted out all the Japanese, and then I decided, because of this package, to sort out all of the Latin American wax in the collection. Now this update's not really the right word, because aside from the first thing I'm going to show you, everything I here I've had for a minute. So what I've got is one 7-inch, 8 LPs, and a 10-inch, and they are all from Brazil. Now, I've talked about my love of music out of Brazil in the past. If you go back years, I did a video on some of my favorite Brazilian metal releases, thrash, Black Death. And a lot of people had a lot of opinions on that. Now, when I drop lists like this, they're not best of lists. They're not top 10 lists. They're just lists of shit that I like. Now, if I don't mention something that you like, film your own list. Do a response. That's the best I got for you. Now, I seem probably kind of unenthusiastic, but I'm actually kind of stoked to be sitting down in front of the camera. It's been a minute. I've been to a few places, south of North Carolina, met up with some VC folks, had a fine time. So, that said, I am actually in fairly good spirits today, but I gotta get in that mindset for that contest. Now, I'll just quit digressing at this point and get to the fucking topic. So Brazil, a lot of fucking rad, hardcore punk out of Brazil from way back. Now, people would argue that as far as punk rock goes, in some degree, to some extent, it was born in South America, Peru, bands like Los Psychos back in the 60s. And I'm not going to dispute that. I think there's a lot of validity. The garage scene was banging in the 60s, in the early 70s in South America. And they had, a lot of those countries had really killer psych scenes in the 70s, and hard rock scenes that kind of honestly gave the better known shit coming out of the United States and the UK and Europe abroad a run for its money. So the old adage, third world countries are always a few years behind, is not necessarily accurate. And this is one of those cases. So what did I get that kind of caused me to start thinking about this topic? It's a reissue from a fairly important band in the history of Brazilian punk. That would be this very nice Ostrichantes 7-inch 45, reissued by Nada Nada Discos, who do fucking fantastic work. They always put out super nice editions. This is just on some black wax, but I'm going to pull it out because, why not? Pretty basic. It did come with some goodies, including a catalog of releases on Nada Nada Discos. Can I get it out? There we go. As well as the original, like a photocopy, basically, of the original insert that came with this, which was just a picture of the band and lyrics in Portuguese, of course. Can't read it. Ostrichantes. This came out originally in, I want to say, 83, 84, somewhere around there. Maybe even 85, actually. I know they formed in 83 or 84. Put out an album in 86 that followed this, where they went kind of towards a new wave direction. And you definitely hear a little bit of that on this album. It's very UK82 inspired, but think like Blitz going post-punk, that sort of sound. It's very poppy, very bouncy, very catchy, killer punk rock. Lo-fi, of course. This booklet is rad. The pictures that are included, as well as all of the text, which is written in both Portuguese as well as English, for those international listeners who may not read or speak Portuguese like myself. It's just a rad fucking addition to the collection. Oh man, you know what? I had a mental note not to drop any F-bombs this video. I don't know if I'm going to be able to succeed. I already broke it just now. You heard me do it. So that's Ostrichantes. That's what kind of sparked me thinking about this. Killer fucking record. Now the rest of these aren't in any order except for when they came out, as far as how early they are. Well, the first album we're going to look at is another reissue that I picked up a few years back because it is a fantastic reissue. By a few years back, I mean 2020. This is almost 2 years ago. That's crazy. Another one reissued by Nada Nada Discos, as well as Radiation reissues. And the Radiation has a weird track record for me. Now, sometimes they do fucking really outstanding reissues, and other times it's just bare bones, nothing really great included for really important albums. Now, this is no exception. This is one of the cases where they kind of went above and beyond. I think that probably had to do with their partnership with Nada Nada Discos for this one. That is, of course, this compilation by Inocentes, Miseria e Fome e Mais. Mais? I'm not sure of the Portuguese pronunciation. I'm pretty good with Spanish. At any rate, originally released in 45 form, this is an LP that includes everything recorded during the sessions that resulted in that EP, including the full EP on side A. You get the band looking real cool, hanging out in the trash. This came out originally in 1982, so it's an oldie. It's fucking good though. You got Live Shot, Rocking Out, another Live Shot. What a cool looking band. I mean, also just a great fucking shot. Like, if this weren't the printed inner sleeve, I'd consider framing that shot because it's just so fucking iconic. There's a label, nothing fancy there. And then, of course, album came with insert. You got a flyer, an old flyer for a show that they played with Rato Stay Proud, Basement Rats. I think in 1980, there is a date on here. I thought there was a date on it. 1983. Just fucking great, man. This album is just straight ahead punk rock. It's not crusty. It's not, there's no D beats on this album. There's a little bit of street punk on here, like a little UK82 attitude. But you can also hear elements of early US hardcore, like The Germs and X, stuff like that. So it's not just like brutal, raw punk rock, like what I think a lot of people would expect when they're thinking of punk from Brazil. This is, I mean, it's an early one, but it's no less crucial. Inocentes, just fucking killer LP. Originals of that 45 are pretty spendy. Good luck getting one if you feel like you need one. Now, we just mentioned them in the flyer with Inocentes, so we're going to talk about what I feel like is generally the least talked about album by this band, and that would be Ratos de Prau with Crucificados pelo Sistema. Fucking just phenomenal. I wager to say that when this came out in, I think, 84, there was nothing in Brazil that was really sounding like this. Just raw. This is where like the D beats started getting introduced. You hear a lot of kind of callbacks to like the Spanish and Italian hardcore scenes at the time, like Wretched, MG15, and Indigesti. Just fucking outstanding record. This is a reissue on Beat Generation. Came out like, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, like 2013 maybe at the latest. Gatefold, even though it's a single LP, pretty nice gate on this one. You got the collage inside. Yeah, just a fucking killer treatment of this very important album. It just got reissued again by Nada Nada Discos. However, if you go to their website, you'll see that they are all sold out, which is a huge bummer, because this record smokes, and you gotta get it. You gotta get it. This is killer. The next record we're gonna talk about, 1987. So we're fast forwarding a little bit, about 3 years. This is a live record. I don't buy a lot of live records, but when I hear a good one, I want it. A lot of people would argue that it's hard to find a good punk live record, but they do exist, like the Vrookers live in Holland. Fantastic fucking live recording. I mean, that's the only one that pops into my head immediately, but there are more, and this is one of them. Of course, I am talking about probably one of the most important bands in Brazilian hardcore, Cholera, with their European tour from 1987. Now, these are tracks that were recorded during their tour of Europe, where they hit France, Spain, West Germany, back when Germany was still 2 countries, Belgium, Holland, Switzerland, Denmark, Norway, Euskadi, I don't even know where the hell that is, and Austria. Anyway, shit's falling. There's the back. This is an original. I don't think it's actually ever been repressed. I might be wrong about that. Killer little indie inserts there, released on Indie Records. Speaking of indie, and let me pick up what I dropped, because this is also killer. Included with the record was a little zine, basically documenting their tour and what happened. Lyrics as well in here. Bits about where they were squatting. Pictures such as that. This album is just fucking outstanding. The sound's a little rough because, like I said, it is live, and they were a pretty lo-fi punk band playing just raging hardcore, but kind of like the melodic hardcore. So think like Toxic Reasons or a Funeral Oration, and you'll have kind of an idea of what type of hardcore these guys were going for back in their time. Now, this album mostly contains... Oh, shit. I'm re-sleeving on camera, you know? It's my channel. I do what I want. Maybe we'll just save that for later. Clearly, I'm not equipped to handle that task. But yeah, think like Toxic Reasons, Funeral Oration, like that sort of hardcore, and you kind of get a vibe for what Cholera sounded like, at least during that era. Their first album was a lot more raw, a lot more savage, actually. And of course, they were on the Sub comp, which is a comp I would love to get my hands on. Even the Nada Nada Discos reissue from a few years back, but shit is hard to come by and spendy. Even that reissue. Somebody needs to put that out again. It's just vital. piece of Brazilian hardcore. A lot of important bands, including Ratos de Parau, Cholera, Ojo Seco, and others. It's just fucking awesome. So the next album, wasting no time, is another another Brazilian record. Surprise, that's what we're talking about. I think I may have talked about this. I don't know that I've ever shown it, but I think I've talked about it. It's a 1987 LP by Now Religio. I'm not sure. I'm trying. Like I said, Spanish, no problem. Portuguese, sometimes I'm okay, sometimes I'm not. Album, A Verdadeira Historia de Brasileiro. That was probably way bad. So apologies to any Portuguese speakers that may be watching this video. Released on Studio El Dorado, who were kind of, they were a Brazilian label that put out a lot of like crossover and thrash at the time. I know they released a couple of the later Ratos de Parau records, along with Cogumelo. Sepultura, I think, has a couple of records on this label, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that aside, killer fucking hardcore, almost, again, something I would describe as akin to Toxic Reasons from the US. Just frantic, hectic, super fast-paced, pissed off, melodic hardcore. That's what you get here. There's the band. Super anti-religious. These guys hate the church. And they make it very evident in the songs. I can catch a bit of what they're saying here and there. But again, lyrics all in Portuguese. So if you don't have an ear for it, it's probably not going to sound like much to you, but it's awesome. I'll tell you that much. Killer fucking record. I would put this up there with the first Lobotomia full length. Speaking of Lobotomia, anybody recognize that right there? That would be their 1984 demo, which also came in that pack with the Os Replicantes. But yeah, I'd put it up there with that. I'd put it up there with that RDP that we just talked about. I'd put it up there with any of the best, the Brazilian punk shit that we're talking about right now. Awesome fucking record. Next record is one that came out in 1988, and it's a little bit different than anything we've talked about, except for maybe that Ratos de Parau, and that would be Scario with Pobre Natureza. There's the oh shit, there we go. Camera angles and views and things. Pobre Natureza. And there is the band. Got a dude in a fucking radish shirt. That rules. GBH shirt here. Also rules. Broken Bones, man. These guys are just fucking repping all of the good shit. Now, what does Scario sound like? Hardcore? Getting crusty. It's 88, so I would not call it full-on crust at this point. That's a great picture of the band also. Show that again. And there's their guy right there. Scario. This, like I said, came out in 1988 originally. Some of the songs, it's a comp. A couple of songs came out in 87. But mostly 88 material. It's a collection of just tracks that they did. There's the wax, which you can't even see. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? What's happening here? I'm trying to get this in. I'm trying to show you guys the record. Here's the insert, if you care. Cool collage. Dig it. Lyrics, I think. Or actually, no, you know what? It's just like retrospective biography shit. Excuse me. Biography shit. See, I got no gathered or collected thoughts right now. Just fucking talking. Anyway, this album, again, really channeling that fucking Spanish and Italian hardcore sound, kind of creeping over to some of the crustier stuff that was coming out of the UK at that point. Definitely hear precursors to like that, just oomph of doom on here. Although it still is, well, I would consider that doom record a punk record or a crust record. This is still a hardcore record. You hear a lot of callbacks to some of the angrier SoCal hardcore, like Black Flag and Blast, and that type of stuff. It is a really cool record, a really good listen. Honestly, it's one again that I can't really recommend enough. Scario fucking rules. Absolutely raging shit. Resleeving again. I'm usually pretty good at it, pretty quick. Now this one I got pretty recently. It's one I've been after for a minute. You don't see copies in the US very often. You don't see copies abroad very often. Every once in a while, you'll see one from like Brazil. Ordering from Brazil takes a long time. So I don't do it very often. I picked this one up from a seller in France because they had it for a really good price. And it is BSBH. Now, cover looks a little partied on, which is why I probably got it for the price that I got it for. Album Orfeos da Nassau. Look at those guys. Fucking look at those guys. Can you tell what kind of punk rock this is? Well, here, maybe this picture will help you out a little bit. Now look at these guys. Now, what do you think they play? Look at those skateboards. Look at all those skateboards. There's 4 of them for 4 guys. That means they all skated. Skate rock, skate punk. It's really wants to be in that Venice realm of skate punk. Think like Beowulf, Suicidal, No Mercy, Excel, but still retaining that Brazilian punk rock sound that's rooted in bands like Inocentes and Os Replicantes. So it's not all just like seething like angst and Mike Muir type anger. Insert with lyrics. It's a killer record, man. My description doesn't even remotely do it justice. One of many killer albums released by Devil Discos, an old label from Brazil, who put out a lot of great shit. And this album is killer. They would release one more full length in 1992. This is 80, 88, 89. I think 89 for this one. I could not find a date on the LP. And I forgot to look at Discogs before I hit record on the camera. Can I get the... You all put up with my antics, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that you keep coming back and you watch me ramble at the camera for 2 to 3 minutes while I try and put a fucking sleeve back where it's supposed to go. It doesn't want to. So we're just going to put it in the plastic and get to it later when shit's done. Okay. Yeah. We're at the 23-minute mark, so let's keep going. We got 3 more items to talk about. This album, oh man, what a fucking banger right here. 1998, Agrotoxico with Chaos 1998. And that's what you fucking get here. Heavy, dirty, rumbling low bass lines and just burly hardcore. This is a lot later than any of those other records that we've talked about so far. It has 10 years on that Scario and that fucking BSBH. And you definitely hear it. It sounds like a different style of punk and hardcore. It sounds like what a lot of hardcore bands were doing in 1998. was kind of experimenting with a lot of the crust that became really popular in the early to mid 90s, while at the same time kind of retaining the traditional hardcore sound. Now, a lot of this actually has callbacks to like some of the more aggro New York hardcore that was out, in the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of breakdowns. It's just a rad record. I mean, just first of all, there's the band. Now, there's a live shot of the band. And they really bring that energy that you see on this. Dude rocking a Forza Macabre t-shirt. Killer. Just killer stuff. Absolutely essential if you can find it. And what's funny about a lot of these, honestly, they're not really expensive. Like this Agrotoxico, I see it all the time at the used section of one of my local shops. And it's a different copy every time I see it. And it's $10. I haven't looked at the price on Discogs, but I mean, it's a killer record. That's all I got. Last LP we're going to talk about is a band I don't really know too much about, but I have been hip to their tunes since I started getting into crust, which was mid-90s. They put out a bunch of EPs, a lot of LPs too, actually, in the early to mid-90s. I have an EP from them from 94 that I just picked up not too long ago, along with a few others in the shelves. This is their final LP, if I'm not mistaken. That would be Abusal Sonoro with Herencia. And this was a release from Agipunk. There are a couple of editions of this album. I think this Agipunk is probably the most common. It's another gatefold, which again, single album gatefolds, not my favorite. Lyrics in Portuguese, of course. This came out in 2003, I believe. There's the labels. Now, I've been told by my good friend Mike over at Uncommon Pallor that one of the guys in this band got stabbed to death while on tour. That's fucked up, right? Probably why they stopped being a band after this album. And this album is pure crust. Think Disclose, Battle of Disarm, SDS mixed with blazing American crust like Destroy or State of Fear. And you get a sense of what this shit sounds like. Code 13 would be another reference. A little bit more melodic than those, but just enraged, furious, unrelenting, hardcore. This album smokes. So good. Another absolutely essential Brazilian punk record. The last record we're going to show is a 10-inch. And this band has a very daunting discography. If you wanted to start with one record that wasn't a 7-inch by this band, this would probably be the one I'd recommend, even though it's 10-inch. A lot of people don't like 10 inches. I dig 10 inches. I think they're cool. And this would be Besthoven with Born to Kill Dreams. Disc Cymex 2009. That tells you what you're going to get with this record. Besthoven can probably best be described as the Brazilian version of Disclose. He did a few splits with Disclose, at least one. This is great. Total Disc Cymex. Cool collage. One-man band. Fucking Fafeo Discrust is the name that he goes by on this album. He is responsible for Distortions of Hell, Nuclear Bastard, Radioactive Drums, and Messages of the End of World. Besthoven say thanks to Agitate Zine, War Victims, Baton, Gift Gas Attack, Dead Hitler, War Collapse, Suffering Jesus, and it just goes on. If you're familiar with any of those names, I mean, that's basically what you get on this fucking 10-inch of just savage, unrelenting, DB brutality. And sometimes he uses a session drummer, sometimes a drum machine. This is all live instrumentation by him. That's his son, who has a voice track on one of the songs on this album. It's great. Besthoven, probably the most well-known beyond like Rato Brow of what we just talked about. This album is killer. Nothing wrong with it. Perfect crust record. And that ends this video. This felt like shooting a quick video, 30 minutes, and should be up within a day or two. We'll see. I gotta edit this shit. You know, it's not just a hit stop upload process for me anymore. That said, thanks for coming back. Thanks for tuning in as always. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. Even if you didn't make it to the end, I still appreciate you. You just don't hear me saying that right now. Hit me up in the comments. Let's talk about some shit. Do you have any favorites that I didn't bring up? What are they? Down there, down below. There's a lot. It just kind of scratches the surface. I could have kept pulling records, but this would have been like a fucking hour and a half, 2 hour long video. Just touching on the Brazilian shit. So, that said, thank you again. I really do appreciate it. Don't be shitty, YouTube. And, stay healthy. Stay sane. Practice common sense. I'm out. Later.